Hello Torquay, I've got your brake booster rebuilt and ready to go. New vacuum diaphragm in here. The air filter poppet assembly has been remanufactured with new modern materials inside. The slave cylinder was in great shape, and I got all the hydraulics taken care of, so we're ready to rock and roll. Also got the plating that you see is the original cadmium plating, as per original. Got stainless steel bleed screws in here. Speaking of which, you don't need to mess with this bleed screw during the bleeding process. Bleed the booster first, do a lap around the vehicle, then bleed the booster last, and to do that 1 or 2 or 3 times, and you should have the brake system bled properly. Now then, testing. Let's see, we've got this is a test port right here on the booster, which you can access anytime you need to, and this is attached to this vacuum line that goes up to this gauge right here. And what happens when the booster is fully activated, this gauge is going to read 0. So it's going to start out where both gauges are reading the vacuum as produced by my pump, and then as the booster is applied, this gauge will stay stationary, relatively stationary with respect to my old 1950s vacuum pump, and then this gauge is going to go down and read 0 as soon as when the booster is fully activated, fully engaged, fully applied. Over here on the hydraulic side, we've got our input gauges. Both gauges are tied together. This gauge goes up and reads, maxes out, and this gauge is going to go up and read input. Final input pressure is supplied by the test machine. On the output side, we've got both gauges again are tied together. This gauge goes up and maxes out, and then this gauge reads final output pressure when from the booster. Now then, to demonstrate that with no vacuum on the booster, the brake fluid, this is a safety feature, the brake fluid in is the same coming out. The booster is just inert. With no vacuum, the booster is inert, and I will show you that by the input and the output pressures will be the same. We got 350 in, 350 out, 350 out. All right, now we're going to hit with a vacuum. Okay. This is a 2-to-1 booster ratio, 350 in, over 750 out. Now on 350 and 350 is 700, so we've got a lot more than that going out. 900 psi. While we are under pressure, we check it for leaks. Check the booster for leaks. And we got a weep hole right down here. We check this for leaks. We got our jam nut right here. There's a seal inside here, and it can leak out of here. And of course, we check our bleed screws, and everything's good to go. Got a good booster. This weep hole right here is your first line of defense. It lets you know when your booster is leaking internally but has not reached the vacuum side where you would pull brake fluid into the engine. So that's why this weep hole is right there. Anyway, I'll get the booster cleaned up. Drain as much of the fluid out of it as I can, but there will be some residual in here, so watch out when you're installing it. Put little bits of paper in here to absorb any brake fluid that might dribble out while you're installing it. See if there's anything else. I can mention. Nope, I think we're good to go. Thank you for sending it, and thank you for your patience.